Eric Barnard is an American voter who lives in the state of Georgia. He has spent a number of years working in Republican politics, but before that, served as a Secretary Forces officer in the United States Air Force from 2009 to 2016. It was during his time serving he gained an interest in American politics. While being assigned to guard Air Force One, the president's airplane at St. Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland, Eric knew it was time for a career change. The 29-year-old interned for Senator Johnny Isakson's Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs in 2018 and was a congressional intern in the Washington, D.C. offices of Republican Mark Meadows, who is now chief of staff to President Donald Trump. Eric says while he has Republican values, he will be voting for Democrat candidate Joe Biden in this election.
Well, it just came down to the fact I couldn't support this president for re-election. I don't think he doesn't fit what what a Republican is. He doesn't express Republican values. He's not fiscally conservative. He is not for building strong alliances with our allies. His behavior and conduct in office is atrocious, and I think it's just better for America if we move on. I stand with Vice President Biden's values in this election. Vice President Biden is not Hillary Clinton. Vice President Biden is somebody who is empathetic to the needs of people. Yes, he spent a long time in government, but again, when you've been there a long time and you know the people that are there, you kind of know how the place operates. And I think that's kind of what we need right now, especially if we're going to get some of these situations solved or on their way to getting solved in some fashion. And I don't support Biden 100% on everything. There's some things he's done or things that he's signed up along for or that he might be in support of that I'm not. But I'll have those differences of opinion. And I cannot support that and say, listen, I would rather you not. But again, for the good of the country, I'm going to vote for it. And I already have voted for it.
COVID-19 cases in the state of Georgia are on the rise, with 1,016 new cases on the Monday before the election. The state has also seen a total of 362,000 COVID-19 cases since the pandemic began, with a high positivity rate at 9.4%. Nearly 8,000 deaths caused by the virus have also been reported in Georgia. Eric says President Donald Trump was not quick enough to respond to the pandemic and adds his denial of its seriousness isn't helping. Many parts of the U.S. are in a second wave of COVID-19 right now. Your cases are spiraling out of control. How do you think the current president has dealt with the situation?
Terrible. His response has been atrocious. 200,000 people are already dead. This president has called the experts on this idiots. He says we're getting more cases because we're doing more testing. Those two things are not corollary, in my opinion. This is a president who knew in advance that this was coming. This was a president who had a pandemic team that was set up in his office, and he got rid of them when he got in. And he says, I give myself a 10, and then he also says, I take no responsibility for the mess-ups. So that's not what a leader does. You admit when you make mistakes. You admit when you do things wrong. It's not a bad thing. We want our leaders to admit they mess up. We want our president to say, I got it wrong and I'm sorry. And COVID-19 affected me. My brother-in-law, he got sick, was put on a respirator at one time. He's recovered, thank God. He's young enough, strong enough. My sister, who's studying to be a nurse, she works in a nursing home. She contracted COVID-19 from patients there, and thankfully she's okay. There's no excuse for this. It didn't have to get this way. It didn't have to get this way. The president, in the recordings he did with Bob Woodward, he said, I didn't want to cause a panic. Well, then the way you don't cause a panic is how you communicate. If you communicate an effective message, if he came to the American people and say, we have just uncovered a virus that is coming over to the United States, we believe from China, from Wuhan, China. This virus is deadly. We do not have a vaccine available. We therefore are going to ask that Americans follow these guidelines to help combat this virus. Please don't panic. Please follow the guidelines. I assure you we'll be fine. And then he should have turned over the responsibility fully to a pandemic team and allowed them to have the message, not try to micromanage it and do the messaging himself. But I think this president likes to be the center of attention and wants to show that he can do it all. And so therefore, every time when there's something new, he's the one giving the message. And then when Dr. Fauci comes out and says something, the president contradicts. Or if the Surgeon General says something, the president contradicts. So that leaves Americans very confused.
Another key issue which is on the minds of American voters is the swearing in of now Justice Amy Coney Barrett. When the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away in mid-September, she requested the nomination wait until after the election. By then, hundreds of thousands of votes were already cast and campaigning was well underway. The Senate voted 52-48 in favor of Barrett's nomination, with all Democrats and one Republican from Maine opposing. Barrett has been open about her anti-abortion values and opposed the Affordable Care Act. I asked Eric his views on the situation and if the nomination should have waited until after November 3rd.
It's hypocritical. I'm not going to say hypocritical on the president's part. I'm going to say it's hypocritical on Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader. It's his hypocrisy that's coming through here. Because when President Obama used his constitutional authority to nominate Merrick Garland to fill the seat when Antonin Scalia died, which was more than a year before an election, and the Senate flat out refused to hold a hearing and to give Merrick Garland a fair vote, and they said the American people should decide. Now, here they are, and they're literally months from an election, and we have a death, and they usher through Amy Coney Barrett. And listen, I don't know what Judge Barrett's going to do. I don't think she has a judicial record that is long enough for us to make any assumption of what she'll do as a justice. But that's beside the point. The point is they should not have held any hearings for now Justice Barrett. They should have said, listen, we did this then, we should do it now. But that's what they do. This is their politics. And I think this is their insurance policy, to where, okay, if the president loses, and if some of these senators, who I think sealed their re-election losses with this vote yesterday, they're like, okay, well, listen, then if any more progressive policies get pushed in the next Congress and they get taken to the Supreme Court, there's a clear majority, so these laws will likely get struck down. So this is the safety net that we've put in place.
Donald Trump and the Republicans won the state of Georgia by only 5 points in the 2016 election, but this time around, pollsters predict it will be even closer. The last time Democrats were in power in Georgia was back in 1992, but now they have a chance again. They're relying on black turnout and the volume of new votes to win the race.
I think this will be a close race. I don't think either side's going to pull out a landslide, but I believe that Joe Biden will win. I believe he has the opportunity to take the swing states that Hillary Clinton lost, and I think he can take them. I think he'll win Pennsylvania. I think he'll win Michigan and Wisconsin, and I think he'll carry the states that Obama previously carried, and I think Joe Biden will be the next president.
And so then if that happens, do you think the current president, Donald Trump, is going to take that lightly, accept defeat, and just kind of walk away from the position? Or do you think there is a very good possibility of some outrage there and this being dragged on for a very long time and something that's never been seen in U.S. history before?
I don't know. I don't know what he'll do. He's not very predictable. Could he try and fight it? He can try. But again, I think it depends on the results. If the results are clear, then he can try it all he wants, but the fact is he's lost. Now, knowing this president, he says everything's rigged unless he wins. And decide. If they say, you're going back to Mar-a-Lago or New York, you're going.
I asked Eric if he ever would return back to a political life, and he said yes, he would if the right opportunity came knocking. Now, I pressed him on if that would be with the Democrats or Republicans. He says it would not be based on the party, but on the person. Charlie Cenac, GBYN News.